Hey, welcome everybody. We are live here on Panels Without Borders. This is the show where I talk about happenings in the comic book community, comic book collecting hobby, do interviews with creators. And this episode was pretty spur of the moment. We had to kind of just get rolling here because we have some really interesting news that has come out today. There's been a couple really hot button topics. The one that we're going to talk about on the second half of the show is CGC kind of making some changes to something that's been going on for a while now, their mechanical air policy. They made an official post talking about that, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But the big news that is literally all over every corner of the comic book world that I'm looking at right now is what Preston is talking about in the chat. By the way, hello, Preston. Thank you for being here. And that is, why Kamala? Why? And we are going to get into that topic in some pretty big detail. The thing that I really want to talk about is the problem with how this is being presented online. I am going to talk about this in a little bit more detail next Monday on the next episode, the next iteration of the Devil's Advocates over on the EXP. So I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about a couple things I have coming up. One of them is those streams over on the EXP. We are no longer going to be broadcasting on my channel. We were kind of doing a simulcast feature, which was really nice. But the whole point is we want to get everybody in one place, having the discussion. We can see each other's chat. So we're going to do that over on the EXP. So if you want to join that, there is a link in the description below so that you can go become a subscriber over on the EXP. And I actually need to pull that up. I kind of realize it's not going to be on my description here. And I'm going to post that into chat for you guys. So the other thing I want to talk about coming up, go subscribe over there so you can start checking out all those awesome videos we're doing over there with Kyle. Click on that and I can get the description. Okay. And the other thing I want to talk about is I'm actually making a return to Whatnot. That's right. Something that I have held off doing for a while. I am making a return to Whatnot for kind of one simple reason. Here's the link to the EXP. The main reason why is I'm running out of room. I think this is something that, it's been chasing me for a few years now as I've been collecting. I just don't have the space for all the comic books that I like to pick up. You read them, they're cool 1 month, and then, you want to move on to something different. And I need to pass some of those books down to people that are looking for them. I do things like I know a hot comic book's coming out. I buy multiple copies. Do I list those copies on eBay or like I should, or on Instagram and sell them and make the money? No, I don't. I'm too lazy or I'm too busy. And so, I have all those books that people have probably been looking for over the last few months. And I figure why not get them out in the hands of people that want them more and make some room for myself. And so let me copy that link here too. And you guys can go bookmark my show. It's going to be on Saturday at 4 p.m. Switch back tabs. And here's the link for that. Also, if you've never signed up for Whatnot before, you get a referral from following that link that gives us both credit to use on the app. Just full disclosure. I would do a live YouTube auction. I know I have some people that are probably going to be saying, hey, why don't you do that? Honestly, it's time, convenience. It's about having the shipping all kind of populated for me. And I just need to move some stuff quick. If I don't move it there, I'll do a YouTube auction or I'll do like eBay or whatever. It's just easier. And I haven't been on Whatnot in probably 8 months to a year. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like. If you want to go check it out, go for it. If I love it, I'll do more. If it's a pain in the butt or I get skeezed out, then I will go ahead and bounce and do my other auctions that I've been doing. It is dangerous. It is very dangerous. Good point. GT Key Comic in the house. What is up, brother? And we got Buddy McKinley in here. So enough talking about that stuff. Oh, by the way, I guess I do have one more thing to mention. Channel member rewards. I've got a stack of comic books. We're going to do the random giveaway at the end of the show. So you're going to get your books for April. Really delayed on that. Sorry about that, but I do have some books. I have a slab to give away if you're one of the premium members and you win. And then we were going to do the movie stream coming up pretty soon. It's going to be Morbius. It's Morbin time. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. And I'm glad that I don't make that category for you, Preston. That's a really big compliment from you. So I appreciate that. And thanks, buddy. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's time. It's time and effort, right? Like it just takes time. And I'm a busy guy, and I love making videos for you guys and doing all other stuff instead. So let's get to the topic at hand. The topic at hand that I want to talk about first. Let me pull up the Marvel Twitter feed, actually, which is an interesting place to start the show, but where we need to go. And the other thing I'm going to do here in a second is actually bring in a special guest. So in about a minute, I'm going to bring them in. It's kind of giving them the prep so they know they're going to be on live TV here on YouTube. Let's see here. There it is. There's their tweet. Okay. Let's share that. Okay. So yeah, so we're gonna take care of both of them in one whack. So in order to do that, I really want to have this part of this conversation because I'm gonna have a full conversation about it later on over on the EXP Devil's Advocates Monday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and I need a little help to talk about that. So I'm going to bring in my trusty co-host, Kyle from the Devil's Advocates. What is up, brother?
What's up, the internet? I got all freaked out that I wasn't wearing a hat when I sat down here to do this. So I went and I grabbed my hat, but then I realized that no one on your channel is going to know what my catchphrase is. And so it would be awkward if I just had a random hat on.
I think we got a first-time caller situation here because I think I can hear you echoing, buddy.
You shouldn't be able to. Oh, I know what the problem is. Hold on. Now it'll go away.
All right.
It was routing through the phone from the Devil's Advocate show. Turn the phones off.
There we go. So sorry about that, everybody. I hear a little echo.
Yeah. No. Oops. If anybody wanted to call into Devil's Advocate last night, they could have until like 6 seconds ago. That would have been really awkward in the middle of the night when my phone starts ringing.
Eventually it'll end, right?
Yeah, right. So thanks for having me on, man. Like, I appreciate you having me on to talk about this. Like,
yeah,
we're here to talk about, the how the comic industry can't get out of its own way sometimes, I guess. Is that the general theme?
Yeah, that's basically what we're up against here. We have a really unfortunate situation, and you know what? I'll post this. So here is your first and only spoiler warning if you're watching the show. You've probably already heard because you're here. You saw the thumbnail. This is from the official Marvel Twitter account. This was posted a few hours ago, so a 4-hour-old post on the Marvel Entertainment Twitter account. Warning, Amazing Spider-Man 26 spoilers are online. Avoid the web or don't at your own risk. And it is interesting to me that this was made pretty quickly. There was an article that went up on Entertainment Weekly is the first place I saw it. Or no, actually, I'm sorry. Bleeding Cool. Bleeding Cool had it first. And then Entertainment Weekly was the next place that I saw it. So Bleeding Cool posts spoilers all the time. That's not really anything new. What is a little interesting about this is a comic book, Amazing Spider-Man 26, that is supposed to come out on May 31st. And it has been teased. We knew someone was dying. We've known that there's going to be a follow-up issue for a one-shot that was coming out after this as well for the Fallen Friend. So that's all been known. In fact, we were told by Marvel to check back on May 31st and get in more information about that. Well, and this is your last part. This, if you were wondering about the spoilers and wonder if they're going to happen, I'm going to start talking about them now. So, feel free to bounce if you really are doing your best to avoid this. Because what happened shortly after is those news articles revealed that what's going to happen is Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, up and coming co-star of the Marvels, is going to die in Amazing Spider-Man 26. And the panels are out there. You can find them very easily. I'm not going to show those panels here, but they're, you've probably already seen them for the most part. I think if you're curious at all, you've probably already seen them. My first reaction to seeing this on the Marvel Twitter account, actually, okay, you know what, Kyle? Let's get your take on this. What was your first opinion about this?
Well, Marvel's tweet was 4 hours ago. Is that what you said?
The one that's saying the spoiler, there be spoilers out there, basically.
So that comes at least 3 hours after it broke in the comic book retailer community. And so it broke on Bleeding Cool, and almost immediately retailers had it. So I just think it's interesting that it took Marvel 3 hours to figure out, what do we do? Somebody make a GIF.
Somebody make a GIF.
Like,
I love it.
And my top line kind of thoughts on it are: I was a comic book retailer when when Detective 50 came out, or what was it? Batman Detective, whatever. Tom King's Batman 50 came out, The Wedding. And the way DC handled that seems a lot worse, or seems a lot better now, I should say, than what Marvel is doing. And that was on every level a cluster.
Yeah.
So my thoughts on this were, this can do nothing but go poorly. Unless what we're seeing is sort of what we saw with Batman 50, which is they're not leaking important information. Everyone thinks they're leaking important information, but they're not. This is the one good possible outcome that can come from this, but it's gonna be bad. It already is bad.
Yeah.
This is the worst possible thing that can happen.
Yeah, and so my initial reaction was, I guess my initial reaction was to the news itself, which was to, Miss Marvel dying. And that, because, story comes first, right? Like the optics of it, how it's released, all that stuff, that comes first. So that was my initial reaction. I will say, I saw a lot of speculation about who was going to die in this issue. I saw tons of different people named. There was one extremely popular person that kept coming up over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then a couple runners up that kept coming up. But I don't think I saw anybody say, "Oh, it's Miss Marvel." And if you think about that, you're talking about somebody who is coming out in her first debut in the MCU was on a Disney Plus series. It got mixed reviews, whatever, but she hasn't actually been in a movie yet. Well, now she's coming out in a movie and she's dead in the comic books. And then we've seen stuff like that kind of happen before. It's not that crazy, but maybe with this character, it's a little bit more interesting. I will say the other tidbit about this that is kind of interesting too is that Zeb Wells, the writer, also wrote the Marvels.
Well, and what's interesting to me too, on another level, is that Marvel advised Zeb Wells not to do conventions for a while.
Yes, that was the big news a few weeks ago.
So you're going to kill a character nobody cares about and then tell your writer not to go to conventions because you killed a character nobody cares about? That, to me, makes this feel like a movie that's been written by Rian Johnson, where everything's a big misdirect and we think we're watching a Wes Anderson movie until it turns out we're not. Like it's this... Something about this doesn't pass the smell test for me. And the other part of this is that it doesn't change Spider-Man. The line was something that inevitably will change the Spider-Man story.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with Spider-Man. It's somebody else. If Spider-Man's story changed inevitably every time somebody died, Spider-Man would have just fallen next to Gwen Stacy 60 years ago.
Well, that's the other thing too, is this is being at least partially billed as I think it was the 50th anniversary of Gwen Stacy's death.
The biggest death in 50 years.
So, I mean, like, what are we even like? One thing that I said is for them to be telling Zeb Wells not to go to conventions, what's going to piss people off so much? One of the things I said is that you don't have, I was just theorizing, right? I look silly in hindsight, but at the time I thought I was pretty smart. You don't have somebody die. You have Spider-Man kill somebody. That is an interesting story that I would be interested in kind of going down that road, right? Like, whether through accident, there's 100 different ways you could do it. There's a million different ways you could do it. That might be interesting. But no, we have this kind of, like you mentioned, Kyle, we have this sort of, like everyone thought it was going to be MJ. I kind of danced around it earlier. MJ is kind of the popular theory. And that's something that we might talk about a little bit more in depth on Monday's show, for example. But it's just this thing where now it's out there and everybody's kind of like, all the reaction I've seen has been pretty negative. I'm not seeing anybody reading this reaction and being like, this is dramatic storytelling. Partially, to be fair, because most people aren't experiencing this in the story. Most people are experiencing this through a headline or a tweet and not being able to read the story. But I know a lot of people that are reading Spider-Man right now that are not loving it. It hasn't been, pleasing readers. I saw a lot of negative criticism at 25. Even readers that were lifelong fans. So it really makes me wonder, where do you go from here? How do you build the narrative? We have this Fallen Friend one shot coming out. I'll add one bit of texture to this. Even though I've seen that the reaction is negative, I also know that this is now sold out through Diamond, all covers. Heard that from a retailer about an hour ago. And so, whereas my initial thought was, I pre-ordered a 5-pack of the spoiler cover from the Comic Corner. And I was like, this was before all I knew was somebody was going to die. I'm like, I'll take a shot on it. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, I love to get in on the hot book sometimes when you can get them for cheap, less than cover price. And now I'm like, man, I need to quickly flip those because people are going to care about this book when it comes out, but I think it's going to become a joke in the long run from what I'm seeing on the reaction here.
My thing is this, and this is how I felt for 26 issues. Zeb Wells is not injecting new life into Spider-Man. Right? It's Dan Slott injected new life when he came onto the series, and then by the time he was done, it had kind of dried up. And then you had Nick Spencer come in and do some interesting things, and Chip Zdarsky do some interesting things, but Zeb Wells really isn't. And so this was the first time it's like, oh, Zebby's got something up his sleeve here. All right, I see you. And it turns out that it's not as interesting as anyone had hoped. And I said earlier, it's a character nobody cares about. That's me making a generalization for the sake of comedy. There are many people who care about Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? That it's a character that's important to a very big set of readers, but not to the readers who are reading Spider-Man.
Yep.
Preston, I disagree with that statement, but the thing about it for me, when I look at the way this has been handled, when Bleeding Cool dropped their story, it was these fuzzy scans. Almost looked like somebody who hadn't cleaned their iPhone camera in a while took pictures of the pages and sent them to Rich, and he ran a story. But EW has actual pages.
Yeah.
So they get spoiled, and then Marvel sends out a tweet that says, you know what, ignore the spoilers. After having and then sends EW the pages.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing about it, for sure.
Spoiled, but here, Entertainment Weekly, go ahead and spoil it. Like, is it and this is what I don't know, and I wish I did. Did Marvel send these things out to the press and embargo them, and somebody breaks an embargo? And
Dude,
now
that is exactly what I said in a private chat before the show started, and that's exactly what I was thinking.
Says to EW, go ahead and post it. Because now all of a sudden it's whatever year that was, 2018, and Batman's getting married again, and DC tells the New York Times or whoever the hell it was, go ahead and break your embargo, and they post a page for page description of 21 pages of a 22-page story, and the bubble bursts on it. So then retailers have to spend the next 2 months running around trying to hand sell this book that they were stuck with because DC didn't offer returnability. And you tell people, well, it's not what you read. It's not what you heard. There's a whole other page. It changes everything. It's like those guys who read the Constitution and be like, no, that comma changes everything. It may or it may not. I'm not smart enough to know. But this is, this is something that if this is the book, this is the linchpin, this is the big sequence. Why do I buy this book now? I've read what I need to read right here on Entertainment Weekly 2 weeks before the book comes out.
You know what? So originally I said I wasn't going to show it. I will let chat decide. If you have a strong objection to me pulling up the Entertainment Weekly article, let me know. We all kind of know what we're doing here. I'll give it about 30 seconds. Otherwise, I'd like to pull it up just to kind of look at the panels. If you have a strong objection, just say so or hop out or whatever. I'm inclined to pull it up because I feel at this point, it's not really, frankly, it's not really that exciting. That's what I'll be honest about. Like, I'm hoping it's cool when I look at it, and it's not. Okay, I got Preston saying show it. I kind of figured you'd say that, Preston, and I appreciate that. Yeah, guys, I'm just gonna present it. So if you don't want to see it, it's gonna take a few seconds on the lag anyway.
To do it, I got it.
Oh, if you got it, yeah, bring it up.
All right, where do you want me to start? The first page they show.
Start with the. You can start on the cover basically, because then it scrolls down. There we go.
All right.
Cool. So yeah, here we are. This is your final turn back if you don't want to see the panels. Yeah, I think most people have already saw it, buddy. That's kind of where I'm at with this for sure. Okay, cool. I don't see anybody objecting. So here we are. So yeah, why don't you scroll down a little bit and we'll get to that first panel, first set of panels. So here's the other interesting thing too. We have word bubbles on this first page, but the consecutive pages, there's no word bubbles. Now, is that intentional artistic decision, or are they leaving that out because they don't want to spoil the text? Kind of makes me wonder.
Yeah, and again, this is a flashback. It's a 9 months ago thing. Like, we don't know what this has to do with the story. We just know that if we are going to fantasy cast, we're going to get either Denzel Washington or Morgan Freeman without hair in the movie. Like, this doesn't really tell us anything of any relevance at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Are we ready to go down more?
Yeah, I mean, so it's the 9 months ago thing. I will say that it doesn't tell us anything. If you're kind of wondering about that text, it doesn't tell us anything. There's literally nothing there. So yeah, let's go to the next page. All right, we got Gold Goblin swooping in. Again, there's no dialogue being presented on this page. I don't know if that's final or not. I mean, the pages may not be final yet, but I'm assuming it went to printers by now. And then I think there's really not much there. Again, it's kind of the same deal. We know there's a fight going on. We see the vortex. And then let's go down to the next page. Freeman Morgan.
I like Mark's thought here. This is a thing. Or maybe it wasn't Mark. Sorry, Michael. They're just going to bring her back as a mutant to match the MCU. Which if we want to talk about the mishandling of that situation, where that sucker got the fact that it wasn't the same Miss Marvel with the same powers, and it got spoiled by Walmart.
Yeah.
Like, Marvel has mishandled this character now for 3.5 years.
Yeah. And the final reason, I think Feige came out and said, hey, we want her to look different than Mr. Fantastic on screen. All right. I get it. And what we're talking about, if you're not familiar, if you didn't watch the Disney Plus series, Miss Marvel obviously has, kind of the kind of morphing powers. She can make her arms go crazy long. Sound like anybody familiar? And so what they did is they gave her one of the Quasar's cosmic bands, and that gives her these kind of slightly different powers. They're more energy based. She can kind of do the same thing, but she's doing it more of like a Green Lantern energy projection kind of a thing, like a purple glow effect to it. And then at the end of the Disney Plus series, just kind of catch everybody else up who may not have known this, near the end, we find out that her character in the series, in the MCU, is a mutant. Now, they don't come out and say, like, you're one of the X-Men now, or something like that. They just say she's a mutant, which in the comics, she's in the human, right?
I don't think she identifies as Inhuman, but yeah, she gets her powers the same way the Inhumans get their powers,
right? From the Terrigen Mist.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that's kind of interesting. Like we're seeing this, stark difference, and then they could bring her back as a mutant for sure. That is a possibility. We also know that a lot of the stuff going on in the X-Men storyline, I'm like a few months behind, so I know some things may have changed. I know something happened with Resurrection, but they were resurrecting a select amount of other people through the Phoenix Project thing that Jean Grey is running. We obviously had them resurrect Captain America during the Eternals Avengers war thing that happened with the X-Men Axe Judgment. So there's a bit of a precedent here for where we can see her get resurrected that way. And of course, it's comic books. There's a billion ways to bring back a character. So yeah. All right. And then let's go to the final panel here, the final page probably from that issue, I'm guessing. And there we know that she's fallen. And kind of the next step here is that Fallen Friend, The Death of Miss Marvel, is a one shot that's coming out later on. It's I think it opens up for FOC on the 31st or something like that. That's when the cover was supposed to be revealed anyway. Now they've gone ahead and released it earlier. Now I will say my initial thought at some of this was, hey, Marvel, you shouldn't be posting this stuff, but at a certain point it's all out there.
Right. Can I mention something?
Yeah, please do.
I've looked at this panel a bunch, and I thought that this was like a stove hood and that this was the chef. And I'm like, why are they having a meal prepared? Why are they in the kitchen? I'm like, the context of this makes no sense. Looking at this photo just for the longest time, like this context makes no sense. And it was just now that I'm like, oh, wait. Okay. Sure.
I think that's just like the competitive barbecuer in you, I think. Maybe.
Well, no, it's me going, and I'll tell you, it's me going through this story and everything that's posted about it with a fine-tooth comb, looking for inconsistencies, looking for this to be a work. Right? Yeah. It's the professional wrestler in me, the professional wrestling fan in me that's looking for this to be a swerve. Right? We've got, oh, wait, the background on this panel makes no sense. So they've taken this, maybe they've layered this together as a fake out. like just looking for anything that doesn't add up. And it didn't add up all day until just now when it all snapped together. I feel like an idiot.
I will say Bleeding Cool's article has one more blurry page out there.
Yeah, but I don't want to give Bleeding Cool a click.
No, I'm not going to, but I'm just saying that, if people are like, well, wait a minute, there's more. Yeah, there's one more page out there that kind of shows what happens right before that panel with the cookout and the FF in it. But yeah, so my first reaction was that this is kind of a bungled release by Marvel, but part of that thought process is kind of tying into what Kyle was maybe alluding to there a little bit, is that, hey, was there going to be kind of a media release, a media discussion about this, and then there was an embargo date for that, and then maybe once this leaked, they said, hey, go early. And that could be why you could see something like the Entertainment Weekly article get out there, the Marvel reaction. Maybe it took them a few hours to decide how they wanted to handle it and whether or not they wanted to go wide with it. It is interesting. And then, you get on top of all of that, you have the reactions to what actually happened. And like the absolute disgust I'm seeing with what's going on in Spider-Man from Spider-Man fans. I can't remember who mentioned it earlier. Somebody had it was Hector Ortiz. I feel like many people are complaining about how bad Amazing Spider-Man is right now, and yet pick up every single issue when it comes out. And I relate to that. And by the way, I'm not reading Spider-Man. I haven't read Spider-Man regularly. I read Superior Spider-Man, loved that storyline, and I read J. Michael Straczynski's run on Spider-Man. Was kind of the last time that I was reading Spider-Man month to month. I really loved J. Michael Straczynski and thought he had a really cool run for the most part. I know there's, we talked about some of the people that have been on Spider-Man recently. We talked about Dan Slott's run. You talked about Nick Spencer's run. I haven't heard anybody really speak positively about Spider-Man in a long time, as far as what is happening in the comics and being excited month to month. And now this move, I mean, I'm seeing people just straight up like, I'm never reading Spider-Man again. I mean, those are probably overreactions. But the interesting part is Marvel telling, Zeb Wells, like, hey, don't go to conventions. You're going to be targeted for this. I don't really see that as the reaction here. Now, I'm sure if I dug deep enough in the internet, I can find people that are being disgusting out there. But for me, the reaction is more of the narrative, like, why? Like, what are you guys doing? Which is kind of why I put the why on the thumbnail. And I don't see people really thinking that this is like a controversial move. In other words, they think it's just a bad move.
So for me, I stopped reading Spider-Man Weekly. I still buy it every time it comes out. I have a complete Spider-Man collection minus some variants, like every A cover all the way back to Amazing Spider-Man #1. I actually have a couple of AF-15s in my family collection. So Spider-Man is the family business in a kind of way. And I stopped reading it when Chip left. I read the first couple of Zeb Wells issues and recognized that it wasn't going to be for me. But rather than going online and talking about how Zeb Wells wasn't going to be for me, I just went and read other stuff. And the thing for me that really has my Irish up about this, I guess, and I can say that because that's my heritage, I guess. Is everything pointed at MJ.
Yeah.
Marvel basically came out and said to retailers, it's MJ. I read a post, and I can't quote it because it's a private closed group, but one of the retailers said, after bending over backwards to convince retailers that this was MJ. Well, that's fair. Xbox rumor, that this was MJ. We find out today that it's not. And one of the things we're going to talk about on Devil's Advocates, and one of the points that I really wanted to kind of hammer home, is Marvel took the ability away from retailers to make financial decisions about the content of this book by not telling them what the content was. So they had to make decisions based on their best guess. And then they went ahead and leaked it. And so now those retailers are stuck with whatever they decided to do. If they under-ordered because they thought, oh, this is Marvel yanking my chain, then they may come out okay. If they over-ordered because, oh my gosh, this could be the biggest thing that happened since the death of Superman. Right? This could be the biggest comic event since the death of Superman. Now they're stuck with those. And Marvel's not going to allow returnability. Marvel's not going to offer them some sort of safety net.
Yeah.
So now your retailer is out however much money they're out, which means they can't buy other books that aren't yanking them around.
Yeah, that's an interesting element to this, and I can't wait to talk about that more on Monday. It's to me, it ties into this kind of larger disconnect of like, where is Marvel going with some of their kind of greater editorial decisions? And it's something I see kind of over and over again, where it seems to me on the outside like they're playing things a little more fast and loose. Like they're kind of going by the seat of their pants more. If you're Marvel and you have this giant juggernaut of the MCU, I'm not saying there needs to be very clear, there doesn't need to be a one-to-one parity between the MCU and the comic books. But at some point, shouldn't you be looking at the long road instead of the short road? And maybe they are. Maybe this is the first domino in a very large chain of dominoes. And 5 years from now, I'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe it all started with the death of Miss Marvel and Amazing Spider-Man 26. And look where we're at now. But if I really look deep in my heart, I don't think that's the case. It feels like, the real question, the real spoiler here is going to be, we talk about a fallen hero. Is she coming back in the fall? Is that what's happening? Like, where are we at with this? We know from the first panel that we had leaked that she's back. So there needs to be something more to this. And maybe there is. We don't technically have all the information yet.
Right.
There could, it could potentially be a fake out to some degree.
Was it on our show that I told my CB Cebulski story from Comics Pro?
I don't think so.
Okay. So one of the things that I do other than running the experience is that I have a media consulting company that does live event production. So if you're having like a Comics Pro or a Diamond Retailer Summit or something, and people can't be there in person, my company will come up and will provide all the technical and all of the production to be able to stream it live to whatever platform you want it on. So if you want to do Zooms or web, whatever, we did that for Comics Pro. And Marvel, the only person who was able to get on a plane and get to Pittsburgh because we had a terrible storm was CB. The only person from Marvel. And if anyone knows anything about Marvel's business practices, they don't let CB talk by himself because he'll just tell you the truth. They want David Gabriel there talking to retailers and to people because David Gabriel will lie to your face when Marvel needs him to. And so they had to zoom him in and we get him up on the screen and the hotel's Wi-Fi crashes out in the middle of their presentation. So I link him onto my phone and I'm dialing back up and CB is losing the room, right? The retailers are starting to talk. They're starting to kind of, whatever. And I turn to CB and I go, and I say, not quietly, tell him you're going to kill somebody. And he gives me this look. Like, how do you know?
Oh.
And I went, oh, tell him you're going to kill somebody you're not actually going to kill. And the more of this story comes out, the more I'm like, I almost guessed. Like, I almost guessed. And the problem is that in that moment, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to kill Spider-Man. It's going to be the greatest thing to ever happen to Spider-Man. Like, and now they're killing Miss Marvel, which is the greatest thing to ever happen to the cyan print cartridge at the printer, I guess.
Well, and it's the crazy thing is we've already, like, the death of Spider-Man wouldn't even be a new thing, right? So when this news came out, look, I'm a cynical son of a bitch, and I remember being in so many conversations where try to guess, and that's a little exciting, right? It's a little fun to talk about comic books and be like, what's going to happen? Who is it going to be? Oh, if it's MJ, maybe that means they'll finally lead into Felicia Hardy, and we'll get like this kind of romance. Or
I was down
whatever.
for single dad Spider-Man. Can you
Sure.
imagine Spider-Man trying to be Spider-Man and also like have to figure out how to make cookies for the bake sale? That would at least be compelling storytelling, right? Because we all know Peter Parker is incompetent.
Yeah.
At everything. So, like, that makes that would be interesting to me, like to do something like that to kind of another side of the character. But this isn't it.
Yeah. Mark, I mean, they're like, geez, they've killed everybody. Like, there's pretty much nobody left.
Right.
And if there is somebody left, they're not important. And that's so part of that thought process I had was it's not who you kill, it's how you kill them. It's, like I said earlier, my guess, maybe Spider-Man unintentionally or whatever kills somebody, thinks it's somebody else, Mysterio, blah, blah, blah.
Too soon to say that he Gwen Stacy's her? Too soon?
No, it's the perfect time to say that. I think this is where we've kind of lifted that. The other thing I thought might be interesting is if you had a villain, kill somebody, like, what's taboo? What's like actually a crazy thing, like killing a child or something like that, right? That would be terrible. It would get people talking. It would get people to say awful things about Zeb Wells, or something like that.
I have a thought, but I don't want to say it on the internet because I will get canceled.
Okay.
But there's a certain group of people who wear all white with funny hats that would take great delight in killing a character named Kamala Khan.
Yeah.
Like, Batman fought him. Why hasn't Spider-Man?
Interesting.
It would be awkward. It would be weird. I don't think it would go over. No. But it's a that would be the only redeeming factor in this situation for me, is if this happens on page 2. Right? And then the rest of the book is this is the first domino, and the most important death isn't Kamala Khan. It's the other 9 people who die in this issue.
Yeah. Right. And I actually almost had that thought too, because you have the TV screens with everybody's reaction, right? It's like, well, what if all of those people died?
You know what that cover kind of reminds me of, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together until just now, is the Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Where
the wanted poster. Yeah.
Like, it kind of reminds me of that. So, okay, if by the end of the book, all of those people are dead, now we're talking about something.
Yeah.
This is the amuse bouche with Ms. Marvel. It's going to be a whole thing.
Yeah. And by the way, William, just to kind of catch you up. Yeah, this is it, apparently, unless there is some kind of fake out, which I don't have much faith in at this point. But yeah, this is what they've revealed to be their big plan for that.
Can I respond to GT Key?
Yeah.
If she doesn't call one of her lassos Ted, what are we even doing here?
Yeah, well, that and pour one out for Yara Floor. Forgotten so quickly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thought on it. I'm probably gonna pick up a few copies for
that non-cover image that they released is so cool. I will have a poster of that somewhere or a print of that somewhere, just because it's such a cool image. But it's not even a cover.
Which one are you talking about?
The one where she's like standing on the rock and the water's around her and you can see all the lassos and the pants.
That's one of the covers.
No.
That's not one of the covers.
Not a cover that's available to order.
Are
now,
you sure?
Could it be like a secret variant? Could it be a cover they've not released yet for order? All of those things are possible.
I'm pretty sure that's out there now.
As of yesterday, it wasn't available to order.
Methinks that has changed.
Right.
But
and it could be because there was so many people clamoring for it.
Yeah.
It would be nothing for DC to say, you know, we're going to add that one.
People are pitchforks for Spider-Boy. But and you know what? While we're talking about that, Mark, the second most popular guest I saw after MJ was Miles.
And I'm good with killing Spider-Boy. I just bought a page out of the first appearance of Spider-Boy.
Oh, you picked one of those up?
Yeah, I picked up one of the pages. He's not on it, but it's a page that I really like. It's got Goblin and a couple other people on it, so I'm good with it.
If you guys, you know, I know I'm over on the EXP now. I don't want to talk about it too much, but it is awesome. You should definitely go check it out. One of the things that happens every Friday is Nick Barucci does original art auctions or claim sales kind of on his channel over on the EXP. And yeah, last Friday was an absolute banger. They had original pages from Spider-Man 7, so you could get like literally the first
appearance page was for sale.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was amazing. So if you didn't check that out, you go back and watch it on the rewind just to see the art is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one sold after the show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
right on. That is very cool, and it's so cool to like, you know, it's so topical. There's so much original great art on there. I love watching that. It's going to unfortunately cost me an arm and a leg because now I want to buy original art.
How about this one on Nick's show?
Oh, let me see if I can make you big here.
This is Dark Wolverine.
Nope, that's not it.
88 or 8, page 1.
Ooh. Yeah, my first page, I got to get something with Cyclops on it. That's my rule.
I have a couple of Cyclops pages hanging here in the office.
Oh, well, maybe we need to talk, unless there are ones you can't let go
from other Dark Wolverine issues.
Oh, nice. Right on.
Preston, I took the terms. Just Preston's going, I wish I could have afforded the page. I had to take the terms. 25% down, the rest in 30 days. So
Preston hasn't forgotten Yara Flor. That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, so here, I'm going to answer you asked the question. I'll answer very honestly. Here's my thoughts on it. Wonder Girl, Yara Flor, now Trinity. You're like 4 characters deep, and we don't even have plans for proper Wonder Woman in James Gunn's, you know, new DCU that he's doing. That's not the Elseworld stuff like the stuff with Gal Gadot is now. And I just don't like. I hate to say it. I wish this wasn't true, but for ultra modern comic books like that, a lot of movie spec and like, are those characters going to appear on screen is what drives the value of those books. So I have a feeling that, you know, it's something that people will be hot on the first month or two it comes out, the first time you get graded copies back from the grading companies. And then there's going to be a pretty big price drop unless the comic market goes crazy again, which it won't for a while at least. And then you'll have to wait until, you know, Wonder Woman dies and she gets her own series or something like that. And then it'll come back. That's just how it works. Or if she does make an appearance in cinema, then you'll definitely see some interest in that character. But otherwise, yeah, you're talking like very long term to have that kind of stuff matter, because people are going to be on that book. They're going to be ordering it. It's not like it's going to catch people. You know, it's not like even Spider-Boy. We didn't really know until it was already past FOC who he was and what was happening. We knew there was going to be a first appearance, but we didn't know who it was. Trinity, everybody knows. If you have any interest in that character, you can go order it right now. You can probably pre-order a 9.8 CGC copy somewhere if you really want to. I'm sure. So,
Yeah, I would say this. If you're buying that book because you think it will make you money, stick your money in your mattress.
Yeah.
If you're buying that book because you're into Wonder Woman and you think it might make you money someday, then you're all right. But if I were going to be speccing on a book these days, it wouldn't come from any companies with blue or red logos.
Good point. And hey, since we're plugging channels out here, K-pop Junkie has a fantastic channel. She's doing some really cool artist kind of interviews and checking out stuff that you don't really get to see a whole lot of on YouTube. A lot of content is like what I do. It's like speculation content, or it's like this where we're talking about comic book news. But if you want to see the actual art side of things, one place to go is EXP. Another place would be K-pop Junkie's channel. She's doing some really cool interviews, and she's an artist herself, so she kind of brings that perspective to things too, which is really awesome. So I think that's a good channel to go check out. I just want to mention
not to be inappropriate. K-pop Junkie, hit me up, because we have some opportunities where we're looking for artists and people who are into art to help with some things Nick are doing and other things. And I'm looking for partners and people who are into art to help with that. So hit me up. Cool opportunity.
I thought you were saying that you're just a fan of K-pop music or something like that. So you're like, hit me up.
Well, I mean, I can get behind a BTS as well as anybody.
There we go.
But no, I'm more of a J metal kind of guy.
Okay, I thought it was cover E, so it's cover K. Yeah, it's out there for sure.
It wasn't yesterday.
No, I think it was kind of like the reveal. Like I want to say like late last night, maybe even is when I first saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Why should anybody buy ASM after 26 since he is now? Oh, geez, yeah. I mean, look, if you got something more to say about it, William, let me know. But it's the whole like Spider-Man Peter Parker will never grow up thing that's the part of it that I'll say is legit. There is kind of this like we're kind of constantly keeping Peter stuck in this kind of weird mode, like Kyle said, like if we had the thing where he became single dad Spider-Man, that would be a cool evolution of the character. I don't think it's necessarily something that would draw a ton of readers in, but I think that doing something different with Spider-Man would draw some readers in for sure. Yeah.
So for me, this is the Peter Parker I think we've got, and it maybe not everybody has this point of reference. I have a very young nephew who is watching the Girl Meets World program, which is the updated version of Boy Meets World. It feels like Peter Parker and Corey Matthews on that show. Very much same guy. He has very grown-up tendencies, but also not.
Yeah,
it's one of those kind of interesting sort of things.
So that's kind of like, to kind of bring it all back to what we're talking about with Spider-Man. This is kind of where I'm going to end up mostly the closing statements on the Spider-Man side of things. When I talk about editorial at Marvel not really seeming to have a direction, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like, what are you doing with this character? Even your diehard, not diehard, your long-standing, Mount Rushmore of superhero characters, your Superman, Batman, that one of them talk about the Trinity right there, right? They've had to undergo these changes that have really led to, character growth and development. And Spider-Man is just a character that it feels like, and this is indicative of the issues I have with Marvel overall, is there's this constant need to reset. And that's fine. It's okay to reset your continuity, but do something with it in the meantime. Like actually reset your continuity if you want to, and say like, we're going to go for 2 years, tell these crazy stories, build these characters up, and then we're going to have an event and reset. I'd be okay with that because it'd be something new. It'd be something different. What I'm not okay with is this kind of like, will they, won't they? Like, are they going to do something crazy? Nah, actually, we're just going to undo it through a retcon down the road. It's not the same thing as like actually resetting and starting over and telling a new story. And that seems like what they want to be able to do, but they don't actually want to deal with the the consequences of what that would mean. They kind of want to have their cake and eat it too. And I think it's really kind of leading to this fatigue with readers that love these characters. They want, what's good about a character? You can see them grow, you can see them develop. They start families, they move on. All these different things can happen. Or you go the opposite way and you actually keep that character kind of stuck in time and you have it never really move forward. You never kind of make any sense of progression. That's a way you could do it too. That's the way that, like, for example, a lot of Silver Age comics always work. It just kind of was this ongoing grind. But if you want to have the shared universe and you want to have events happen in one series and crossover with another series, unfortunately, part of that's going to involve aging up characters, growing, moving on. And it's okay to build in a stop point for yourself and say, like, hey, like I said, in a few years, we're going to go ahead and reset this continuity. But if you're not going to do that, then what is even the point? Like, this is bad for readers who are so far not happy with the storyline. This is bad for fans of a character that's gaining in popularity and going to be in a huge new movie. This should have happened in like her own title, or maybe a line, like a Marvel wide crossover event kind of a thing. It's bad for collectors, investors, speculators, that whole group of people. Like, they're not getting anything out of this. So where does this decision really help people? Where does it really, influence comic books in a positive way? And if you're familiar with me, familiar with what I like to talk about, I like to talk about helping comic books as an entire group, an entire hobby. And I don't think this is a step in the right direction, personally. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share, Kyle?
I'm with you on that. I think two things need to be abundantly clear coming out of whatever happens in 26. The first is how we're going to get to the next thing with Spider-Man. It needs to have momentum going in a direction. And the other thing is it needs to have a sense of permanence. If it feels in reading it like it's going to be like what DC just did with the Justice League, where it killed them for 6 minutes and then brought them back, or, like it's done before where it killed Aunt May for a day and a half, like, it needs to have a sense of permanence. And I don't think it will. I don't think that anything happening in MCU is going to have anything to do with any kind of, what's happening in publishing anymore. I just don't think it's gonna. You may have characters that look like the people playing them on screen, but the storytelling is not going to matter because people who go see the movies don't read the comics. They don't care.
Yeah.
By and large. So at the end of the day, it's about the comics have to tell a good story and it can't think about the other things. So the permanence would be good. Something to sit with for a while. And it has to give Spider-Man momentum. That book is stalled and it's not going anywhere, and it needs to get its momentum back.
And it's just, think about it. Like, what is Marvel Comics? Who is their flagship character? And what are you doing with him? By the way, on top of all this, not to make this about Spider-Boy or any of this other stuff, there are so many damn Spider characters at this point, which I personally don't feel like anything's being done with that. Like, I get the concept, and like, it's cool when you like first hear about it and you start kind of warming up to the idea, like, oh, there's these different variants of Spider-Man. But who else is just super sick of multiverse stuff? Like, of all these different, Rick and Morty, Doctor Strange 2, and then you have all the stuff happening with the Spider-Verse. And you know what? I'm actually still excited for the second Spider-Verse movie because I love that first movie. That was great. But I feel like, Council of Kangs, we just have multiverse. And man, it is just so fatiguing at some point. I again, cool, but have a reason for doing it. Don't just do it because that an artist can sketch up a really cool mock-up of what, Spider-Man from Chicago is going to look like versus, the other Spider-Man character that you've introduced. Have a reason. Like, because we've already got really like multiple really awesome spider characters that were established and in the universe, and now you're creating so many more, and it dilutes the brand of Spider-Man.
I made a comment on the air earlier on my show over on The Experience where we talked about Maleficent, which came out this week from Dynamite. And I said, I feel like Dynamite's instinct is going to be to do a book called Maleficent Versal, because they did Vampyverse and Sonya Versal and all of these things, where now there's 30 different Vampirellas and 15 different Red Sonyas. And, they all have to have their own series and tell their own stories until you can't tell which one's which. And Spider-Man has suffered that same fate. You've had too many for too long. And when they all have to tell their own stories and have their own adventures, none of them are good. They're all just vanilla ice cream. They're all just passable. And until you trim it down to something that makes unique, interesting stories that make sense, then you're never going to get good books. You just can't. So,
yeah, it's again, we're talking flagship character at Marvel. We're talking about a company that, in my mind, it's weird to say this because they were just at the top of the peak of the mountain of comic books a few years ago. And I'm not like saying like Marvel's washed, Marvel's totally in trouble, but I feel like there's a lot of decisions that are adding up that are making long-time, decades-long fans kind of, and a lot of us are still going back and reading old stories, collecting old comic books, and that's great. That's not really going anywhere. Like, that's always going to be there. It's almost time locked, right? But also that, that's such a set period of time. There's only so many comic books you can go back there and reread, and fans want some new stuff that they enjoy. I think the philosophy of being radically different, like, you can say what you want about Hickman's run on X-Men and what he set up there with the Krakoa era and all that stuff. At least it was a totally different direction. It set up unique storylines. And I think, again, editorial maybe kind of mismanaged the ball there a little bit as far as for how they could have executed that. And that's when I talk about that editorial theme, that's one of the things I think we're going to get into a little bit on Monday night, with what Marvel can do to help their brand and help them as somebody who's going to help buoy up the entire comic book hobby, if they can. So,
yeah, no, for sure. I completely agree with that. And I think something else, and this will be a topic for Monday, is right now Disney is driving Marvel, not the other way around. Disney will take a character you love and beat the life out of it until here we are 20 years later, and they're still putting out having Funko Pops put out of it. Lilo and Stitch. Right? Disney is not great at shepherding timely characters. They want evergreens, always evergreen, to be evergreen. Well, comic books were never meant to be that. These are stories that are meant to move, that are meant to have progress, and that are meant to reset. And if Disney's driving the boat, then Marvel's in trouble. If Marvel can get its own boat and start to drive itself a little bit in conjunction with Disney, because they're not going to be separate.
Yeah.
Then you can really start to see the future kind of pave its own path and get better. So.
Yeah, that's actually, you know what, George, that's a good point. Yeah, DC also needs its time in the spotlight as well, too. So I can respect that. Guys, if you enjoyed that conversation, I do have a link in the description below for the EXP. You can go check us out. Kyle and myself, we are the Devil's Advocates on Monday nights, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Every Monday, we have different discussions. We also have a page up now that you can go kind of recommend topics for us to talk about. We got lots of cool stuff coming down the pipeline that I'm excited to share with all you guys. As a reminder, those shows are only going to be over on the EXP going forward starting this Monday, so definitely go check them out. I'd love to see you all there, and I think it's going to be awesome. I look forward to talking about this topic in some different angles that you may not kind of consider at this point on Monday night with Kyle. So definitely go check that out.
And before I leave,
yeah,
follow the Experiences social medias. I don't know that this is the right one. I don't do our social media. I'm real bad at it. But follow the Experience on social media. Just search, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. They're listed there. X11 Bravo, I think he's going to keep going. I'm going to dip.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about CGC next. So, guys, if you want more drama.
Yeah, I've been on the air for almost 6 consecutive hours now. But I will be posting. I saw some of you talking about meeting up at the Motor City Comic-Con on Saturday. I will be there both days, trying not to be noticed by some of the celebrity guests who I don't get along with, and hanging out in Artist Alley with my homies. So I may post up on there, and we may try and do a meetup. Or at least, try and con someone into bringing me coffee. So,
nice.
We will be there. And if you guys are in Michigan, I don't know, Preston and K-pop and some of you guys are talking about meeting up. The next weekend, we will also be at Cherry Capital Comic-Con. So if you're looking for cons in the state of Michigan.
Oh, there we go. Here we go. Yeah. So thanks a lot to Kyle for jumping on here and talking about this. It's something that we really want to talk about it Monday, and I'm excited to get more into it and explore some different angles, but it's just too hot of news. We had to talk about it and kind of give you a little preview what that's going to be like. So, Kyle, I'll let you go and get some rest and get some food, and let's talk.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And then we get to talk about some other crazy shit. Let me pull up my other window here to kind of share some more stuff. Yeah, we got more. Don't worry. There's more everything. Yeah, show some love for Kyle, guys. I've really having a really good time doing the Devil's Advocate show over there. I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you haven't checked it out yet, there's a lot of episodes up now you can go look at. Yeah, crazy shit time. Exactly. It's fun, right? First I want to see if I can tease something here. Okay. So one other little bit of news that I forgot to mention earlier. You may have seen this on my Instagram story if you follow me on Instagram. Shameless plug time. This is Mr. Sticker 1904. I found out about Mr. Sticker 1904 through Bueller, Comics with Bueller. He was posting about having people put stickers on his bus. I'm going to meet up with Bueller at Washington Summer Con, which takes place here in Western Washington at the end of June. And there's a few other people from PDX that are going to be up there, members of the community you've seen around in chats and stuff all the time. So we're going to actually have a pretty big meetup of a lot of comic book YouTubers and people that are part of the YouTube comic book community, the Instagram community. And one of the things I wanted to do, and it has been way overdue, is get some stickers made. So, do I got to log in to show this? Oh, well, that's not going to work on this. I'm on a incognito tab. So let me share a new tab here. And I will go to my Instagram official. I had a lot of private messages coming through that I didn't really want to show accidentally, but I can do it this way and just pull it up before I ever show the page. Try to keep those conversations. People send me information that's out there, and I like to keep that stuff private. Here we go. This will work. Stop. I hate how StreamYard is pretty awesome, but one of the things they do that's a little weird is the sharing tabs. They don't make it easy to queue up the next one you want to share. Okay, so I don't think any of the messages will show. Okay, cool. So none of the messages are showing. So this is Mr. Sticker 1904, and I got to go through his reel here because that's where he posted this. I think it's still up there. Oh, here we go. Getting ready to cut the stickers for Bronze Age Nerd while listening to his YouTube on what not to buy. So there is the stickers that I'm going to have available for everybody pretty soon. I can pause that, right? Pause. So there's the stickers. I'm going to have those available pretty soon. Any giveaways that I do, any orders that you get from me for the foreseeable future, you're going to have a sticker with my corner box logo, which was originally designed by me and was refined by Pool Boy, aka Michael McComb, comic book artist. He helped me get it ready for print. This is the first step in the official, long overdue Bronze Age Nerd merch thing. The next thing I'm going to do is have some shirts get made up for myself. I'm going to test some stuff out, and then we'll kind of go from there, depending on what people's interest level is and all that stuff. But I don't want to just put out cheap, shitty shit. I want cheap, shitty shit. I want to have some nice stuff. So anyways, that's what's coming out. Sorry, it took a while to share that. But yeah, so if you're interested in that, you know, like I'll hand them out I'll have some on me at cons and stuff like that when I go to, of course. And then he did like a hollow foil one too that should be pretty cool. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully you guys think it's cool. So, all right. So there's that. Oh, hey, a couple super chats came through. Press crazy time. I love it. Excellent. Bro. Crazy shit time. Yeah. So, yeah. So yeah, like I designed the original layout for my logo, and then he came along and refined it. He helped me out with that, and I'll blow up his spot a little bit. He's been working on it for a while. I need to touch base with him. He is going to be working on a Booty of the Week kind of logo for me too at some point. I think hopefully I'm not blowing up his spot too much when I say that, but yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm excited for that. You guys, if you haven't been here, since we're talking about this right now, and I could share this a lot quicker. Window. There's the original Bronze Age Nerd logo, by the way. You may not know that, but that is the original logo that I made. And then you've seen that one on some of the older videos. And then this was the version I made before he refined it. So it's a lot rougher around the edges. I actually want to zoom out. How do I zoom out? I don't know how to zoom out on that. Anyways, I guess we're gonna embiggen. So anyways, yeah, that was the original logo, and then he kind of refined it, made it look a lot prettier, print ready. Yeah, he did an awesome job. So appreciate him doing that. But yeah, Pool Boy from Billy Show, exactly. Michael McComb, go check him out. So let's talk about the crazy shit. I've teased it for too long. We need to talk about the crazy shit. Okay, so CGC's had a problem for a while. And they've had a problem with something called mechanical errors. I have not made a CGC submission in over a year. So unfortunately, I'm a little behind on all the ins and outs of this. Oh, by the way, I didn't actually say thank you for the super chats, by the way. I appreciate that. You guys are awesome, and I really does mean a lot to me. So CGC, there's actually a lot to talk about besides just this announcement. There's this stuff with Melinda Young, who I wasn't aware of before I watched their stream about it, doing a CGC in-house signing. There's some other stuff, but let's focus on the main thing, which is this post that came up today. And to even view that, I need to be logged in. See, this is some crazy shit, folks. This is what I'm talking about. Fine. I'll do it myself. Thanos style. That's so stupid. Search CGC Comics. Part of it is I was hoping to just look at the comments without, you'll see all my friends come up first and all that stuff. No, that's Instagram, I think. Just don't snap. All right. So CGC's mechanical error policy. So I'm going to read you what they wrote here. Effective May 16th, 2023. That is today. CGC, by the way, hashtag CGC, good branding there, has updated its mechanical errors return policy for clarity and consistency. All mechanical error submissions, regardless of error, must be received by CGC within 14 days of the submitter's receipt of the collectible. In addition, returns can only come from the original submitter of the collectible. Newton rings, which can occur naturally under certain conditions, do not qualify as mechanical error. Valid mechanical error submissions are not charged shipping, insurance, or handling fees if the return is made within 14 days of receipt. Learn more about all the details with this link. Let's see here. Yeah, see, this is the thing that sucks, is if I want to pull this up. I'm going to read the comments first. I'm going to see if there's real fast. I want to see if there's any other. Yeah, okay, so it talks about a little bit. Let's read the comments. And this is what I said. I didn't necessarily want to color the comments by, you can see like who I follow will show up at the top here. Comic Man Andy, I think he's actually talking about this soon or now or something too, is putting a timestamp on the quality of your product really in the best interest of your customers. That's a really good point. And that's one of the things I thought about instantly. I think the message they're sending is should have known better than to send to CGC. It's a pretty smooth process once you know how to do it, says Neville Grail Hunter Howard. Barbarian Kung Fu, do you count misrepresented labels as qualified mechanical errors? If so, I want my $24 back. He had an issue with it's worth checking out. He definitely has a good point. Y'all put those time frames on the customers, but can't even meet your own. Good point. Sacto Santorum Comics, maybe allow for some leniency in mechanical errors as they are errors on your part. Why should I be tied to a deadline when the error is your fault? Now, I'll give the smallest amount of credit here to CGC. Normally, these comments are disabled by now. And I had taken some screenshots because I kind of felt like they might have disabled comments, but they're still up for now. So if there's an issue on the label of a book that was purchased by a submitter who maybe didn't notice the discrepancy, then they have to pay to get it reslabbed? Or what about an original owner who got a comic slab through a third-party facilitator who holds on to the new slabs for more than 2 weeks before shipping them out? This happens quite often when third-party facilitators who submit under their accounts. Moon Knight 29, I think you stumbled on a big part of why that 2-week policy is there. Not stumbled on. You deduced it logically. That's part of what's going on here is they're baking in every possible rule they can to limit the number of mechanical error fixes they're going to have to do. Label error should be covered in perpetuity. I can't say it for some reason. That's so funny. I love that word too. Perpetuity. What about case scuffing? And not only rings, but oil lines the size of the Exxon Valdez. Oh, shit. Oil lines, that is Newton rings. That's the only thing I disagree with there. I think they're the same thing, right? This is why I will never submit to CGC again. 2 weeks, you can't tell your customers when they will receive their books. Some of us travel for work. This policy will not work. A month is ample time. Interesting point. Somebody saying there's nothing wrong with this. So, yeah, I won't go through all the comments here, but a lot of comments kind of bringing up some of the inconsistencies here, some of the issues that are happening. So, sorry, I was yakking for a while. Yeah, bring on the shit. Some crazy shit. CGC has had a problem for a while. Truer words never spoken. Yep. We'll do it live. Exactly. You got to persevere. Yeah, CGC sucks ass. Well, and here's the really funny part. Some people are probably going to criticize me for this, CJ. I actually need to fucking submit some books to CGC. I basically need to. I have some comic books that I can either sell, like, you know, as an example, like I could sell the comic book raw and it'll sell for $40. But I know it's a 9.8, and if I get it slabbed, it'll sell for $150 or more. You know, that's just example. There's definitely some books like that I have sitting around, and it's like, just because I don't want to use CGC, now I have to miss out on money. But on the flip side, I don't really want to support CGC, right? So it leaves me in this lurch where it's like I have to weigh what's more important. Not giving CGC my few dollars and hoping that it makes an impact, or maximizing my return on investment on some stuff. Both of which are kind of money questions, really. And I understand that, you know, that's my deal, not somebody else's deal. But well, it depends. I'll get back to a couple other comments. It depends. It depends on the book. It totally depends. There are some books for sure that I would sell raw over graded, especially knowing what grade they would get when they were sent in, like 100%. And there's some pretty clear stuff about how raw is on the rise, but the stuff I'm talking about is worth the most value in a 9.8, and I know what a 9.8 is, and they're 9.8s for ultra modern stuff. So hold on, I want to make sure I don't miss any comments because we have chat rolling in here. They really said Newton rings? Deal with it. Yep. Pretty soon you'll need a law degree to submit books and understand the fine print. What a pain in the ass. Agreed. Once more, they refuse to be accountable for their products. Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. Yeah, Michael, CBCS doesn't have Newton rings. And by the way, I just got in like 10 CBCS slabs. I have a couple sitting right here. Like, they're I should take it out of the plastic here. Forgot how these were taped. Their slabs are, I love their slabs are slabs. Like, they're not creaky, flexing. They don't, you know, they're sealed better. They don't feel like there's a big ass gap in them. They don't scuff as easily. And, you know, everyone kind of shits on the label. Look, I think the label could be better for sure, but they're fine. I just got a bunch more in because I got a great deal on a free comic book day deal over at Things from Another World. And some of these I'm going to use as channel giveaways and stuff like that. They were awesome deals. But here's the problem. They're cool and everything, right? And I got a bunch more. I'm not going to show them all. The problem is, and this sucks, and I fought this for so long because at the height of COVID collecting and the pandemic, the gap narrowed a huge amount between CGC and CBCS. It was crazy. You know, people were talking about, well, I get more with CGC, but it was like 5 or 10% more. Now it's amazing. The gap is just widened to the point where there's a lot of books, you know, and I've said this before about like PGX, for example. There's a lot of books. It makes sense to get a CBCS 9.8 and make sure it's 9.8, crack it, submit it to CGC, and you might get your grade, not grade bump, like your value bump just by having a different holder on it. Do I think that's silly? Yes. But That's just the truth of the matter. Yep, 100%. 100%. You know, it's kind of just the reality of the situation. Hey, Kamikaze, how's it going, man? Good to see you in here. Just bought a signed comic with a CGC green label. I intend to crack that, have pressed, and send a CBCS for them to verify. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. And like my Ultimate Fallout 4 is a verified signature. It's a triple signed 9.6 from CBCS. I think that's great. And the yellow labels look a lot better than the blue. I will say that. I've seen the same customer send back 2 to 3 times and they get the same mechanical error if they ship out in the not the best quality. I feel that's a lapse in their quality control. Like, that's what I'm going to get to, Xbox Gamer. 100%. 100%. That's literally where I'm going to go is kind of that train of thought. Rye says, by the way, hi, Rye. I haven't seen you yet. It's like not wanting to put gas in your car to save the environment. Is it really going to matter if you use CGC or not? Slab themselves. Yeah, and that's kind of it, right? Like, that's kind of the position I have to be in. Like, sure, I could not be part of the problem, but like, what is it really going to do in the long run? What I will tell you that what it does for me is it affects how I handle picking up comics. Like, there's certain comics that if I look at it and I'm like, well, yeah, but if I bought that, I'd have to submit it to CGC and get it graded and all that. I'm probably going to do that less. For one thing, the market's continuing to soften even more than it was before. For another thing, CGC has a million issues. You know, for another, I'd prefer to use different grading companies. There's a lot of reasons. Hey, Kingdom Comics, welcome to the show. Surprised more and more folks are not talking about CBCS with their turnaround and their prices. It is interesting. They do have the guarantee, which is another thing I was going to talk about in this segment. They have the turnaround time guarantee too. Not T2. It's not Arnold saying, I'll be back. I'm just talking about they also have a turnaround time guarantee, which is money back guarantee, which is interesting. I will also say that it took me 15 or 16 months to get back my CBCS submission, like my own personal submission to CBCS. So that burned some bridges with me. CBCS has done nothing but shoot themselves in the foot left and right. For example, that is true. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. George's didn't say IV, he meant UV. UV safe to a certain degree. I don't think they're fully UV safe though, right? I think it's like they're a little more UV safe. Yeah, okay. That's fair, Preston. Well, it depends. Like what Ozzy's saying here, Chris. CBCS customer service is an abomination, and that is something you will hear over and over and over and over and over. Is that at least you can get somebody on the horn over at CGC and be like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" You might not like the answer. Don't get me wrong, but you can talk to somebody. Okay. Yeah, actually, I need to do a verified signature. I have a signed Last Ronin #1 that's remarked and signed. So I can't send it to it's raw. I can't send it to CGC. So I might try out that service just because I'm not doing anything with that book and it should be slab because I think it's a 9.8. Well, slab is a slab, but are they? Like, is a PGX slab the same thing? Is an EGS slab the same thing? I don't know. I mean, I do know, but it's an additional point. Is CGC any better at customer service? Yes. So I will say that I think they're better at customer service as far as getting an answer back. That's a good point too, Rye. Takes longer to sell CBCS too. Yeah, that's a good point. Dude, 78 points. What's up, man? We're getting all the homies in here tonight. That's great. I appreciate everybody being in here. Thank you so much. This was a last minute show. it's been long overdue that I do a live show that isn't part of the Devil's Advocate shows. For sure. That's because folks are not talking about CBCS, and CGC does great marketing when it comes to high sales. Kingdom, I don't know specifically what I said that made that comment come back, or what somebody else said to make that comment come back, but I will say this much. CBCS also, they had the fiasco where they were sending books to an employee's house, and they had several issues where books got lost. Not just that issue, but other issues where books got, like, large amounts of books got lost. That was the Clan McDonald thing. I also am familiar with a comic book shop whose name I won't drop because I don't want to blow up their spot. A huge comic book shop had that happen to them as well. They've had their own issues, and their turnaround times were atrocious. When CGC raised their prices, they would kind of come out and be like, well, we're not raising our prices. And then as soon as, everything kind of died down, we're raising our prices, it's just a weird, like, I want them to be more aggressive, and I want them to live up to their promises when they're being aggressive. And then I would be very happy to use CBCS more. I haven't completely written off CBCS by any stretch of the imagination, but it's so funny. Like, at one point I was like, I'm not going to use CGC. I'm going to use CBCS. And then my submission from CBCS was like an experiment. And then 15 months later, I guess I was like, well, I guess I'm not using anybody for grading right now. CGC continuing to do everything to lower operating costs and increase profits for the books so Blackstone can flip them. Yeah, that's a good point. Blackstone has just been a terrible blight on how they've touched the comic collecting hobby. That's a legit good question, Preston. I mean, they all have their flaws. And every time I'm like, well, CGC is the least flawed. Because you consider the volume they do, and you kind of have to, like, excuse a certain amount of mistakes, right? Like, if you're doing 200,000 books a month, or I have no idea what they're doing. I have no idea what their volume is. If you're doing that many books, a large number of them are going to have mistakes because you're just grading so many books, right? Like, I don't expect their error rate to be 0. I expect them to make a mistake like 1 per 1,000, 1 per 10,000. But if you do enough books, that adds up. The K cover. Actually, hang on. I can probably... This won't take too long. Got you. It is this cover right here. Cover K, the Daniel Semprier Trinity variant. That one. It's the only cover I'm aware of for Wonder Woman 800 that has her on the cover. Unfortunately, I don't like the Brian Bolland cover that much. There's something going on with that face that I can't quite get behind. I did like the foil variant's pretty cool. I wish that Trinity was on it. That's also the Semprier. I think the Belen Ortega cover's pretty cool, honestly. I even like the swimsuit, the Michael Allred. That's cool, but they don't have Trinity on it. This one doesn't either, right? No. Okay, just making sure. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that one. Oh shit, a lot of chats coming through. Let me make sure I got everybody. So just crack the case if it shows up with a huge Newton ring, right? I mean, so Blue Beetle, thanks for your comment. Thanks for joining the show. here's the deal with Newton rings. Up until before the mechanical air thing, which has been a recent massive uptick in mechanical airs. If you're not familiar, and I haven't been doing submissions, so I'm a little out of the loop, but as I understand it, for a couple months now, there's been a huge uptick. What's up, dog? There's been a huge uptick in mechanical errors coming back from CGC. So that's things like hairs in the slab. That's things like broken chunks of the slab, label mistakes. Slab, the well is upside down inside the holder. Those kinds of things, right? Quality control. That's what you can kind of call it. And Newton rings have existed before that kind of massive uptick in all that, of course. And by the way, I can never find the video when I go to look for it, but there is a really good instructional video of how to remove Newton rings if they bother you. That's essentially you can slide a piece of copy paper into the slab and it'll kind of remove them if they're near the edge. And I mean, since CGC slabs aren't sealed, you can get a piece of paper in there. The other thing that some people do is they kind of twist the slab. I'm not do that at your own risk, obviously. But people can remove Newton rings that way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't risk the UV thing too. Well, yeah, Kingdom. I mean, but yeah, they relocated, but they also, it's not like CBCS has drastically changed who and what they are. Until they do, I'm going to be really hesitant about using them as somebody I primarily submit to, especially when if I'm slabbing for super long-term investment, and I mean like I'm planning on, when I die, I'm going to pass those books on down to my family. I consider CBCS a lot more. When it comes to like, I'm planning to sell this book in my lifetime, I'm probably not going to be using CBCS. Personally, that's just where I'm at. And I really wanted to. I don't believe that is accurate from what I know. Yep, all the grading companies suck some kind of ass. Agreed. Okay, yeah. Nice. And that's the one thing, like, what the fuck are you going to do if you don't have, I mean, like, it's the one advantage CBCS has. And let's talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to the signature verification. They've been proven to accept forgeries. Well, I say that. If you don't know, there's somebody who submitted a Sarah Pacelli signed book. I think it was a Spider-Man book, if I recall correctly. And they practiced and forged the book and then sent it in. Now, Sarah Pacelli's signature is a series of squiggles. And they verified it, which was a huge scandal too. Another thing that's worth talking about. But I do like that we have, and again, I don't expect them to be 100% accurate. Maybe that's the one time they've screwed up. But maybe they screw up, 90 times out of 100. We don't know. Thanks. I appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot. So that's the thing is, I mean, that's what I've been doing for the last year is boycotting them. I haven't done a submission in a long fucking time to either company. And now I'm kind of at the point where it's like, well, shit, like, I kind of need to. And, the market hasn't changed in that last year as far as who people are putting there. In fact, if anything, the gap's gotten worse. It's gotten way worse. CBCS comics are worth way less than CGC books now compared to where they were a year ago. I'm pretty confident in saying that. I would need, maybe that's an interesting topic to dive into for a future video or stream, is to kind of look into some, the details are a little bit more between the two companies. where we're at now. I have a feeling I know the answer. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I think probably addressing what we talked about there. So I'm trying to think of a good analogy with CGC. It's a little like, this isn't a great analogy. On the spot, I'm not able to think of the perfect analogy. It's a little like, well, I want to shop, but I don't want to shop at Walmart. But I live in a small town, and the only store left is Walmart. That's why. That's the best I can do. Yeah, the return times definitely did get better. Yeah, they're going to get even better now that they're not taking all the returns from mechanical errors. I don't know, Razzo. I don't know if that's a reference to George. I guess it's choosing between two evils, but I'm going with CBCS for signature verification. And having seen both their slabs, I like CBCS. I way prefer CBCS slabs. Straight up prefer them. They're way better. If CGC used better slabs, I would be a lot happier, but I also would prefer them to fix their other issues. Interesting, because I've also seen the uptick in mechanical errors. I've also seen the like the sticker alignment on the grade. I don't have a CGC slab handy. Is off now, which is kind of weird. There's just weird shit. CJ pinches babies in the grocery store aisle when their mothers aren't looking. That's funny. Maybe I'm just weird picky, but I don't like the big ass white sticker on the CGC slabs. To me, it distracts them. No, Chris, that's people who prefer the CBCS slab. That's the number one thing they all say. I get it. CBCS had all the opportunities to give CGC real competition, but unfortunately, CBCS keeps shooting themselves in the foot. I too tried switching, and it wasn't a good experience. Yeah, exactly. And I've had that happen so many times. So many times. What? No boob covers? Why not? More boob covers. So I got to jump way forward in chat here because I before it disappears from my screen. I appreciate that, Ozzy. Thank you so much for that. I really do. And by the way, I hope at some point we can reschedule our chat we were supposed to have and have that conversation. I look forward to it, man. Okay, let me go back here. But thank you. I really do appreciate that. If I was only looking at return times, I go with CGC. Don't know enough about the others to say. Yeah. Oh, sorry here. GT Key. Anti-CGC videos are an actual YouTube phenomenon, an actual YouTuber genre, yet the very same creators of those videos keep submitting their books to CGC. Again, I just don't get it. Yeah. So I'm probably a little out of the loop. I don't know if I really qualify as the group you're talking about, GT. Because I'll be honest with you, I watch a lot less comic YouTube than most people that watch my videos probably do. For a lot of reasons. There's a few creators out there I like, and I do try to watch their stuff all the time, but it's just, part of it's you're a gynecologist, you go home, do you want to look at fun stuff, or did you see it all day at work, kind of thing, right? Like it's a little bit like that, I guess. It's also like enough about enough creators out there, and at a certain point you kind of don't want to watch their stuff as much. Let's put it that way. No Jim Lee, Phil Jimenez, John Byrne, and other artists who actually drew Wonder Woman variant covers. Oh, for the covers that were, Brian Boland, classic. Who are some of the other cover artists? Todd Knock, Joelle Jones is the artist of it. Bartel. You're right, though. Especially Jim Lee. Like, I feel like that's a huge miss. What are Cole's notes? I don't know Cole's notes. Cliff Notes, is that just a typo or an autocorrect? The biggest problems I have with CGC, well, first of all, this mechanical errors announcement that we're talking about is the biggest reason why. I actually need to go and look at their thing and share it. So let's do that too. So this is CGC's press release. We were looking at their Instagram posts and reading some of their replies to it. This is their actual press release on their page, or whatever you want to call it, their blog post about it. And it kind of talks about the same stuff, but it goes into some greater detail here where it says what qualifies as a mechanical error. And there are two types of mechanical errors: label defects and holder defects. Certain issues with the CGC label qualify as mechanical errors, such as incomplete information on the label, inaccurate or missing data, or the wrong label stock was used. For example, a comic book that received a universal grade, which should have been encapsulated with the universal blue label, was instead encapsulated with the green qualified label. I actually haven't seen too much of that. I can also see like people not getting their custom label. I've heard that before. In the case of the label defect, CGC will label and reholder the collectible for a period of 14 days after receipt. Holder defects: obvious scratches, scuffs, and or blemishes in or on either the outer holder or the inner holder that cannot be safely removed qualify as mechanical errors. Interesting. Safely removed. Certain debris, such as obvious dust, loose particles, or other material, just say fucking hairs, that is not naturally shed by the collectible itself, is also considered a holder defect that is submittable as a mechanical error. Optical distortions or effects such as Newton's rings. Newton's rings? I've only ever heard them called Newton rings. Interesting. Rainbows or other prismatic effects, see below, that are natural phenomena related to light passing through the outer holder, inner holder, or a combination of the two, are not considered holder defects and do not qualify as mechanical errors. Neither do scratches, scuffs, or blemishes on the inside of the inner holder, if used, that were caused by contact with the collectible. So here's their logic. People are going to ask, why don't they qualify? Newton's rings are the natural result of two pieces of plastic coming together. They may be more or less pronounced depending on the thickness of the collectible. The CGC holder is built with long-term preservation in mind, and its construction is necessary to ensure the protection of the encapsulated collectible. Newton's rings are not an indicator of any deficiencies with the CGC holder and therefore do not qualify as mechanical error. For more information about Newton's rings, watch the video below, which we are going to pass on. So that's kind of the latest thing. Yeah, well, I mean, look, GT, like, so what I'll say is, without calling out anybody specifically, because I just am not about that lifestyle, look, there are people that do this hobby, and I mean comic book YouTubers, that just want to stir shit up. They just want views. They just want clicks. CGC unboxing videos are super popular. Some of my most popular videos ever were CGC unboxings. It's part of the reason that I started doing comic book YouTube content, is because I was watching people like, and it's certainly not what originally inspired it, but part of what guided me was I wanted to start doing CGC submissions because it looked like so much fun to get your book backs and see what kind of grades they got. And kind of, for me, I started doing the pre-looks, and I would say, like, this is what I think the grades are going to be. And then I'd see if I was right, and grade predictions and then unveilings and all that kind of stuff. I thought that shit was awesome. And you see, creators doing that, and then they're talking smack. And the reason why is because they are playing both sides. I mean, that's essentially how it works. Yes, sir. That is right about the Wonder Woman 800. Yeah, better price receipt. That's true too. 100%. Trying to get caught up on chat, everybody. Did anyone see the YouTuber that forged a signature? Yeah, and I just talked about that. Hey, Dan. What's up, Dan? Nice to see you in here. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. That's very nice of you. Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, okay, Nick Brucci. By the way, welcome to the chat, Nick. You missed Kyle on here earlier. But one thing to throw in, Chris, the person who submitted it did so to screw them up. It was done on purpose, which is admitting to the 100%. That's something I brought up when the situation happened. The consumer-facing problem is that it means that their verification might be inaccurate. The moral and ethical problem of somebody doing that, admitting to it, the legal problem is different. Yeah, that's a tough one as far as the moral situation there goes. In my opinion, I think that person did the wrong thing, but as a piece of information for us to take and use as collectors, it is also a valid data point. Oh yeah, because they're so easy to fake. 78 points. Is that what you're saying? Okay, so you asked the same question to Preston. I'm sounding like a CBCS fanboy, but I never use them. I just think more people talked about CBC. So, in Kingdom, you might be newer to my channel. If you go back and watch some of my content from about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I wanted CBCS to be the answer, and I think I was being a little delusional in my desire for that, actually, to some extent. By the way, I keep looking to the right of the camera where my monitor is at instead of my camera, so I'm sorry if I'm not making eye contact with you. New camera setup still. I'm still getting used to stuff. So I 100% agree. I wanted CBCS to do well. I wanted them to be the better option. I wanted them to gain ground against CGC. We need another grading service that can actually step up and do it right. Well, and you can't trust the witness. You can't trust the witness, guys. I know from multiple sources, people that have talked about a couple different things happening, and I'll go over this real fast. One is you're at a signing and you have a bunch of books signed by an artist or creator or whatever. And I've had people say that they've slipped in another book that was previously signed by that person. And yet it came back witnessed because the handler, the witness, wasn't paying good enough attention. The other thing, they talk about your moral issues there. The other thing is, I don't know if you're aware of this, but CGC allows artists to become their own witness. So they can do a remark, send the book off to CGC and it gets a yellow label, or they can do a signature or whatever. A lot of the artists that you think about that do like their own store exclusives and that kind of stuff that have CGC yellow labels, that's what they're doing. On paper, that sounds great. And I bet you most of that is legit. But those signatures aren't actually witnessed by a third party, by somebody other than the person claiming that they signed the book. And what did we have happen in the sports memorabilia world in the 90s? We had people that were family members signing books, signing cards for athletes, and then turning around and selling them to shops or selling them to customers. So there's it's not actually always witnessed. Now, I admit those are edge cases, but that's just true. It's just there's going to be there's at least a percentage of CGC verified signatures out there that were never, or witness signatures that weren't actually witnessed. Yeah, 100%. Man, I am way behind, aren't I? Okay, I'll try to get caught up faster. Sorry, I'm not going to highlight every single comment because I want to get caught up. Oh yeah, interesting. I don't really remember his reaction, but that's a good one, Rye. If that was how it went down. So Kingdom Standing still has a shaky slab. No. Yeah, I 100% get what you're saying, GT, and I think you're asking some good questions. Who would that be, Mark? There's a lot there. I need to get caught up on chat. That's a good one, Mark. Yeah, I agree, Preston. That's exactly what I agree with. Too few options and companies available. There needs to be more real competition. Cake covers for the win. I agree with that. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. I'll have to go check that out. I watched a guy open a slam and prove why CGC's grade was wrong. Then he got mad when I asked him how he trusts any of the 9/8s on the wall behind him. He has disliked me since. Oh man, yeah, that's a good dude. People get too caught up in their public opinion or their belief, right? Like that's a weird one. X11. Sorry that happened. Okay, cool. Even if you were referring to me, that's fine. I can I was not talking to my phone. My phone lit up like I was talking to it. I wasn't doing it. It's fine if you were. I was just kind of curious. Yeah, I'm certainly guilty of that. People are hypocrites. They need to put their money where their mouth is and uniformly ban CGC for 6 months. But the funny thing is, I do think we do see this kind of growing trend. Like I think CGC is almost certainly not getting as many books as they used to. I think they're definitely trying to figure out ways to make up ground. Okay. The hairs. That's funny. Because they're not in control of manufacturing the plastic case. So they're not in control of it, but they're the only ones ordering the product, right? So it seems like they would have pretty good pull with their supplier, whoever the OEM is for those. Yeah, I've only had maybe one or two bad experiences, and I'm pretty critical. But I've also like definitely seen a lot of secondhand bad experiences. So I think you get into that numbers game, right? Like we were talking about hundreds of thousands of submissions, where only a few come back with a problem. So I appreciate it, Nick. Thank you so much for popping in, supporting the show. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate it, George. Well, that's a whole separate issue, right? Like that's something we actually might cover over on the Devil's Advocates is signed versus not signed comics. I'll tell you, like I don't like actors signing books. I'm on record as saying the only book I'd ever want signed by an actor is I would want Demon in a Bottle signed by Robert Guiney Jr. And I'm a absolute animal for saying that, but that's the only one I'd want signed. Photo covers, like whatever, that's fine. It's not for me, but I get it. If it's a photo cover, sure. Like if it's a photo cover of especially like one of the cosplay covers, 100%. If it's a Scarlett Johansson Black Widow cover, like I get it. It's not really for me. I would be like, I wouldn't know what I want to get a Katie Sackhoff signature, and I don't know what I'd have her sign. I kind of thought about the was it Dr. Afra 19 or whatever that she's on the cover of. I did kind of think about that, but yeah, it's kind of an interesting question. Yeah. For me, the experience of going and having somebody sign a book is very important, and some creators like Stan Lee, like I had to have a Stan Lee signed book. I had to, like that was just deeply ingrained in me. I like signatures, but I know they're not for everybody. Yeah, that one I don't know about that, Rye. Like first of all, their con presence was non-existent for years at this point, for at least 2+ years. So I'll just slab my own stuff. That's great. Shout out to Malverde Designs, by the way. My slab stand is right back here. If I can reach far enough, from Malverde, go check him out over on IG. He does a great job on the slab stands, and he does a lot of other cool stuff too, like these drink covers to cover up your soda or energy drink. Yeah, the Gator Guards. Yeah, like I'd love to have a ScarJo signature too, because I think she's gorgeous and stuff. And so I mean, like, yeah, I'd love to have her signature, but I'd probably want it like on like a photo, or maybe a like I had Todd McFarlane sign my Spawn DVD, the animated series. So I had him like sign season 1, maybe like Avengers or something like that. Like the Blu-ray or something, Steelbook. Celebrity autographs feel like a different market from the Roy Thomas or Neil. Yeah, I agree. A real tin. no extra acetate added. Yeah, I love the Sig series stuff too. For me, I saw Christina Applegate's signed photo cover. Won it. She's great and she's hot. She's not doing any more on camera acting. Freudian slip on my part. She's hot. So her public appearance will be rare. Yeah, that's a good point. And again, photo covers, I get it. They're not really for me. I don't really generally like photo covers anyway, but that's where I get it. Oh yeah, we've got some love for Malverde in the chat. Yes, that's it. That's so for me. My signature love really took off from having Todd McFarlane's. So he signed my DVD. He also signed my Spawn 1. That was a magical experience. Like having a conversation with Todd McFarlane. We actually got to talk for a few minutes. And now, like, you know, I've had Jim Lee sign stuff for me at a con. You know, Brian Michael Bendis. Like having these cool conversations with the creators and that experience, like. They're talking to you while they're signing. Like some people are like, just enjoy the moment, you know, like it's the same thought process where people are like, well, don't take a selfie with somebody, like actually talk to them. Enjoy the experience however you want to, is my advice. And they're probably just happy that you want to talk to them and that you are there for them. And, you know, especially at a con where they kind of know what they're getting into, or they're happy that you're supporting them by, you know, maybe buying some stuff from their booth or whatever. And that's what matters, is do whatever you want. As far as that goes, she is hot. Yeah, I agree. Or it's not worth the price. Yeah, an Adam Hughes Black Widow cover. I would probably go Sinkovich if it was me, because Sinkovich Black Widow covers are fire. I'm thinking of Elektra. Who did the awesome? Was it Malieve that did a great Black Widow cover? There's some really great Black Widow covers out there. Yeah, exactly. Like you know, I'm going to be going to Washington SummerCon, and there's, you know, Steranko is going to be there. A lot of great people are going to be there. You know, like I'll have them sign some books and I'll talk to them. Like, you know, I had Randy Emberlin on the show. Had him signing some stuff for a viewer of mine, Cyclotron, and you know, had a great conversation with him. And then I got to have him come on my show. Like we hit it off. We had a good conversation. He thought what I was doing was cool, and he wanted to talk. That's his Black Cat right up there. That print right there. That was a lot of fun. Got to talk to him about some cool stuff, and yeah, you can multitask, right? So one other thing I got to do, you know, I'll definitely take more comments, questions from chat. One thing I got to do is I got to do my giveaway though. So let's show you guys what the giveaway stuff is. So, I'm giving away, it was just free comic book day. So I dug up some older free comic book day stuff I have. I like Turtles. Bone Orchard. Then I got this one from this year, which is the Clark and Lex. So I'm throwing in some extra free comic book day stuff I had. In the spirit of free comic book day, make up for this drawing being a little later than I would have liked. Giving away an ASM 129. Holy shit. Best show on YouTube. We're giving away an ASM. It's a facsimile. It's a facsimile, guys. But, you know, we're giving that one away. X-Men Legends #1. Got a copy of Flash 343. I won this in a giveaway. I think it's a cool book. We'll pass that on. The bigger prizes are kind of just like, you know, I like to give you a lot of stuff, right? This is Chin Potter's book, Rem Wake. This is his Ashcan kind of preview. This was a book I ordered directly from him through his Facebook page. I love Chin Potter. He does, like, if you're not familiar, he does the Banksy style, like Department of Truth covers and Ice Cream Man and stuff. So that's one of the prizes you're going to get there. Got this Coffin Comics Lady Death print. That's going to go your way. Talk about Black Widows. There you go. Claim. I love it. And then this is kind of hot. This is one of the hotter free comic book days, so I figure that's a good prize. So that'll be a channel member prize for a one lucky channel member. And then we're talking about slabs. This has been so if you're a $10 a month channel member, you get a chance to win a slab. No one's won it the last couple months. So this Black Adam #1 EGS 9.8 could be yours to win. This is the first appearance of Malik, who later becomes the White Adam. So it is a key. Ivan Rodriguez cover comes with their COA. So you can win that. So let me pull up my list of channel members and set my comics down so we don't break them. You know what I mean. So we don't damage them. So let me get my list of channel members and we'll pull up a random.org and we'll give those out. So you got a chance to win. If you're curious what I'm doing here, channel members are a thing on YouTube. There's a join button down below in the description if you're on mobile, or it's right below the video feed if you're on the web browser. And yeah, it's just basically a way to support me. There's a $1 a month option. There's I think $1.99, and then there's a $9.99. If you're a $9.99 member, that's where you get a chance to win the slab. If you're the winner and your name comes up, that's what you'll win. And all the raw comics too, of course. And then get my file loaded up here. And then if you are a channel member, you also get custom emojis in my chat. Every month we're going to watch a comic book movie, kind of a bad comic book movie. Like we watched the Roger Corman Fantastic Four. We watched Batman and Robin. These are movies that I just never had seen before, and I want to get caught up on them. This month we're going to watch Morbius. I am going to make that happen. It's a little delayed, but we'll get there. Life's been crazy. Okay, let me enter in our Bronze Age heroes, which is the $10 a month members. And then we'll enter in our next level of members. So let's see. Buddy is the last one on that list. And I'll kind of shout out everybody who's a channel member real fast as well. And then last part of the list here, almost done. All right. So, Nick, I hate to say this, but we already did that one. That was our second or third one. I can't remember which one we did. But we watched it. Sorry. But hey, I'm glad you brought it up too. For sure, man. Thanks, Marshawn. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's Morbin time. Let me add the list randomizer here for our winner. So the people with asterisks next to their name, there we go, are the $10 a month members. So we got X11 Bravo, Comic Journey, Tex, who's he didn't want to pay through YouTube, so he paid a different way. He's part of the club. Gamma Base Comics, awesome group over on Facebook. Starset Comics, great seller over on Whatnot. Buddy McKinley, also another good seller on Whatnot. And then we've got all our other members: DC Irish, Preston, Chester Benson, Collector P, Jack B, Toom, Cody Fraley, Shigeyuki Kakita, Matt268, Malverity Designs, who was just in chat, Shadow Rat, Kilted Corgi, Sonia Prieto, Darren Smith, Phil, who is Psycho Phil, and a comic bookworm. Linked. Oh, so I couldn't watch it on YouTube, Nick. So what I do is we watch it on my Discord. And so if you're a channel member, you get access to a special part of my Discord. By the way, anybody can join my Discord. Let's go ahead and throw that link in chat too before we draw the winner here. And my Discord server, great place to come hang out, share comic book news. We talk about, local comic book shops and all kinds of stuff over there. Let's see, copy the invite, and I will paste that into chat. So you guys can check that out. His name is Green because he is a mod, and he's a channel member, so that's why. So, was his name green on here? No, his name's not green on here. Okay, just checking. I think maybe you're colorblind. No, I don't know. No, guys. Look, I never ask people to like and subscribe on my channel. I used to do, and I still do technically do this thing called Ko-fi. Coffee. It's like kind of like Patreon or whatever, because people ask if they can support me. And then when I got access to the YouTube channel membership thing, I turned that on, and it's really the only thing I talk about. And the reason why is because I do devote some time to this channel, and like I do like services for some of the videos I use, like Cover Price, and I use CLZ for some stuff, and I use Go Collect, and those services cost money. So this is kind of like how I help out with that. And then honestly, like, it covers the shipping for the prizes. I don't really make a whole lot on this, but it's just a way for people to support. If you don't have the funds or the ability to support, do not worry about it. I totally understand. I don't expect anybody to do it. It's just an option, because some people ask how they can support. And if you can support, it's highly appreciated. It's very flattering. But I don't expect anybody to do it. So do not sweat that. Do not sweat that. All right. So how's this gonna work? Because I'm gonna hit randomize 3 times on this list, and then we are going to give the person that appears at the top of the list the prize. So let's randomize 1 time. Preston came up on top, but this is not the final round. We're gonna do it 1 more time, and that person is Preston again. And people are gonna start saying, "This is rigged. What is going on?" But we've randomized that list 2 times now. 3rd time's the charm, Preston. Will you come out on top the 3rd time? No. In fact, it is Tex. Tex from very active over on the Discord. You can go check out his post there. He's a hilarious character. He changes his name every month or so, every few weeks. Whenever the wind changes, he changes his time, but his name. But Tex is our winner for this month. So Tex is going to win a pile of comics. I didn't see him in chat tonight, so I'll go let him know over on the Discord that he won. Nice job, Tex. Collector P came up, but Collector P won last month, I believe. And then Kilted Corgi won. Yeah, so we got some good winners up there. And then CJ, you won before. It's rigged. Yeah, congrats, Tex. That is awesome. I am so happy to see him win. He deserves it. So let's see. Like I said, I got a Whatnot show coming up. I'm going to paste that link into chat 1 more time. I need to clear out some room, guys. That if you want to go support me, go bookmark that show. Come hang out on Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific. Link is pasted in chat for that. Please go subscribe to the EXP. That link is in the description. Like I said, we're only going to be over on the EXP for those Devil's Advocate shows. I hope you enjoyed the previews here on my channel, but those are going to be every Monday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. We talk about some amazing topics. If you enjoyed the first part of this show where we talked about the Spider-Man 27 saga and everything that's happening with there, we're going to talk about that from some different angles that I think you're going to find very interesting. And we're going to talk about how things are handled when it comes to publishers and how they handle this stuff, and how it comes to spoilers, how it comes to supporting retailers, and whether or not this is good for retailers. Go check that show out on Monday and subscribe over on the EXP. No luck of the Irish for you. Yeah, I should send him something green. He does like the green stuff. I'll see what I can find. That sounds like I'm saying he likes pot, but he likes green chicks. She-Hulk, basically, and Orion slave girls from Star Trek and that kind of stuff. Yeah, you can support Rolling the App. That's 100%. 100%. So I appreciate everybody hopping in and joining the show. Let me know in the comments down below if you're watching the rewind what you felt about, some of the stuff we discussed about CGC and about the Spider-Man 26 issue. And we'll catch you in the next stream as well. So I really appreciate everybody popping in here. Really appreciate everybody seeing the support back and forth in my chat for other people in the community. I love to see that. Absolutely. Have a great week, everybody. And I'll see you on Saturday for that Whatnot show. And then again on Monday for the next Devil's Advocates. Top 5 not to buy should be hitting tomorrow as well. So that's going to be another awesome list and video for you guys to check out. Have a great night, and I'll catch you in the next one.